Guys, our offensive line is taking a beating, and it's showing in our run game. What can we do to help this?
Yeah, we talked about this a little last week, guys. We talked about, you were here, Tyvis, and obviously you were here, G, and we talked a couple of names we mentioned, Lyle Collins, Taylor Lewan. Now, you wonder if the Browns have, looked into those guys and maybe they just, Taylor Lewan's lost some weight. Maybe he may not even be able to play anymore. He's doing some media stuff. I thought Lyle Collins wanted to play. I know 2 months ago he was cleared. Maybe they just don't think he's any good. But look, I did see that the Browns. I can't remember the name of the player, but there was a defensive tackle.
Oh, it was like Turner or Trey.
Somebody
claimed
he got picked up by the Texans on waivers. Yeah. But I saw that the Browns and Bengals both put in claims for him. So it's not like the Browns are sitting on their hands. They saw something in this defensive tackle. They thought he could help him. They didn't get him because the Texans have a worse record, so the Texans had first crack at him. But it shows you that the Browns are not. Andrew Berry's still working here.
Yeah.
Guys, what do we think? G, start with you. Would you like to see them go out and get a veteran offensive lineman, or do you think that ship has sailed at this point?
It all depends on how the guy that they bring in would probably have to be pretty smart. Because I think, Hudson was already in the mix. Christian has been here for how long? For like
2 months now.
2 months now.
Yeah.
So they probably figured he was going to be out of the loop. And when they got him, they were figuring that they was going to be able to get DeJuan Jones back anyway. So they're like, listen, we're going to get you up to speed, ramp you up over a long period of time. But now, you got to think it's 3 weeks left in the season. Can you get a guy who hasn't been practicing, hasn't been playing?
Yeah, it's tough.
Can you get him in? Can you ramp up? Can you get him in the playbook? And are you worried about injuries with that? And then, I look at Bill Callahan, he might be like, look, if we was really excited or if we really wanted to do something, they could still move guys like Luke Whippler around. Like if they wanted to move.
He got to play center.
He's going to play center now, right? So they got Leatherwood. I don't know. They got a lot of guys on a practice squad. But for me, where this really comes down to is, as you can see, I made that declaration. Listen, I'm no longer on the play-to-play Stefanski train. I'm not. I said it in the barbershop yesterday. I said I'm no longer looking at play-to-play, down-to-down play calls, because at this point the Browns are going to have to employ some sort of smoke and mirrors. They don't have the guys up front to run the ball consistently. They don't. It's too much to ask for 4 guys who are relatively second or third stringers to hold up to run the football against these playoff teams. So the Browns are going to have to do some smoke and mirrors. That's trick plays, whatever trick play he want to run, whatever it is, what it is. If it work, it work. It don't, it don't. And especially with the run game. Right now, to be truthful, it's hard to get these guys to pass pro, but they're going to have to do a lot of chipping, a lot of tight end stuff. And then if they want to throw the ball with Joe Flacco 100 times, he might end up with 2 picks, 3 picks.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen,
yeah.
But that might be your best way to win football games. So I'm off that.
Tyvis, what say you? You want to see a veteran offensive lineman, or you got, hey, Bill Callahan's happy with this group, I'm happy with this group?
I mean, that's fine, but you can't watch that game last week and tell me that everything is all good.
No,
it ain't all good.
James Hudson was not great.
No, he's the biggest weak link.
He's not good.
Yeah, so I think if you're not going to address it by going out and signing one of these free agents, then the second best option for you to do it is you have to go look at other teams' practice squads. And what you want to do is you want to find one of those teams that run a similar offensive style. So you need to look at the Rams with Sean McVay. You need to look at maybe the 49ers practice squad. Teams like that run. So when you bring them in here, they're already used to the offense that you're running.
And they've been practicing.
Yeah. So you know they'll be in game shape and stuff like that. So I think you got to go.
Good idea.
You got to look on somebody else's practice squad, see who they got hidden there. Maybe, they took the rule away. Back when I was playing, if you had a certain amount of years, you couldn't be on practice squad. Now it don't matter. You could play it in the league 20 years. You can still be on practice squad. So
Jason Peters was on
the practice squad. So you might be able to find a guy there. I think that's the smart way to do it, because then you don't have to worry about getting them in shape, and you don't have to really worry about trying to get them ramped up on the playbook, because they'll have a good grasp on it because you're getting it from a similar system offensively somewhere else. I think that's the way you have to address it. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to ride it out with what you got, You're going to have to start running some jailbreak screens with Elijah Moore, getting that ball on the edge, some bubble screens, getting that ball out on the edge that way, and trying to get some rushing yards that way, because this offensive line, they just don't provide the gaps that they need. Pierre Strong, now you got to get the ball out in space. I think that's just the only way you're going to be able to get this running game going. And as far as the passing game goes, it's going to be a lot of chipping. David Njoku and all the other tight ends, y'all better get on James Hudson's side and get ready to chip release every time.
Yeah.
And get in those grave digger positions. If y'all don't know what a grave digger position is, that's when they slightly behind the tackle in the 2-point stance. They're there to provide max pro. You'll be having to do that a lot, where you'll have a 3-man route, which sucks, but it'll give Joe Flacco the time he needs to get rid of the ball.
And I feel like this is Family Feud. Good answer, good answer. Survey says.
That is a really
ding,
good.
Ding, 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 ding,
That
ding.
really does make a lot more sense than the
Thank-
veteran who's not been playing.
I
It's a good point.
I did play and do the NFL
Good job
for a
out of
couple
you.
of years. I appreciate
I
it.
wonder if the Browns are looking at practice squad players and saying, you know, if they're still on these other teams' practice squads with all the injuries, maybe they're not any better than our guys.
Right.
Maybe.
There it is. There it is. That is. That's it, man. Steve Harvey got 97 jobs. That's crazy.
I'm trying to be like him.
Man.
Welcome to the feud. I'm your man, Steve Harvey. He does that every time. Does the low clap.
That low clap means let's go.
Yeah.
Bull's
But
gonna bring the
feud,
mustache back.
you know he's making huge dollars.
Shut your mouth how much
For hosting that show.
When he got to Miss America, I said, "Oh gosh, they
Talking about when he messed it up?
Yeah,
He said the wrong person.
You know what's wrong with America? You know what's wrong with America? Y'all only choose one of us every 10 years. Like before, it was Omar Epps. Omar Epps was in everything. Then they had Chris Rock, and then all of a sudden Steve Harvey came along. He done had about a 20-year run right now, though. 20 years.
He's been on fire. He's got every job, man.
Shout out to him, man.
So what did you say? What's your answer?
No, I think I was
What you
thinking the
said.
veteran, but I think what you say makes a lot of sense. I actually think that makes more sense than adding some of these veteran players who haven't practiced. I got to think there's probably, 50 or 60 offensive linemen on practice squads around the league, somewhere around there, maybe more, maybe 70, I don't know. You got to think there's 1 or 2 guys that could be better than James Hudson, I would think.
I mean, they signed one. What's Leroy? What's his name?
Leroy Jenkins.
Tyvis just got a sticker that said that.
Christian Leroy. What is his name? Wilson. I can't think of it. They signed somebody
random
on some
dude, I don't know.
some tackle off of practice
they
like
got-
maybe 4 weeks ago.
Do they got it? And I know they probably got one of these dudes in the NFL. Like we talk about getting some guys off practice squad.
Yeah.
These dudes probably be telling film dudes, "Hey, I want you to get me a film on every tackle.
Yeah.
In the league on practice squad.
Yeah. And if you're smart, you could take I've been on practice squad, so I know a thing or two. If you say you on practice squad, right, and you feel like maybe I'm not gonna get a chance to get promoted on this team, what you got to do is you got to take some of your practice film, send it to your agent, and your agent can kind of ship it around, and then he can show it to other teams, and they'll be like, oh, we can go sign that guy.
That ain't encrypted.
Maybe.
Where you getting these plays from? Like that sound like some Michigan stuff. Give me that practice.
It's
film.
not about the play.
Hey, you just want.
You need to look at the player. Look at the player.
And the great thing about the NFL is, in the NFL, they don't care about stealing plays to a certain
They
extent.
steal them all the time. Because all they're going to do is look at it and say,
Stop it.
oh, I like that play. Let me go do that next week.
yeah.
By the way, the
Stop it.
Rams, just to look at it because you mentioned the Rams, I don't know any of the names, but they have four offensive linemen on their practice squad. Now, I don't know who's a guard, who's a tackle. I've never heard of the 4 guys. But you got to think, if there's 4 guys on the Rams, let's say there's an average of 3.5 offensive linemen per practice squad. Well, that's over 100 offensive linemen on practice squads.
That's
so
a crazy.
there's got to be somebody out there,
Yeah.
you would think.
And that's somebody's job. Give me 3. I need tape on all of them.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Andrew Berry spent the last few days watching 100 players on practice.